And now it's time for another edition of... How can people be so fucking stupid? How can people be so fucking stupid? Oh, now the soul searching is going on among the Democrats. How did it happen? How did it happen? People are still in shock and denial even now that our country is bursting at the seams with so many assholes. And assholes vote. Someone has to stand up for the stupid, goddammit! As Ailes and Trump and Bannon grab the crotch of the nation. Change of policy is enough for these people. This crowd wants revenge. You really got to work hard to breed a subhuman species like this, so militantly stupid. Sure, now we finally get a first lady who's got nudie pics all over the internet. And speaking of small business aids, now we're going to be selling more of these for the next 4 years, when I would rather have put it to bed. And I'm seriously worried maybe we're going to have to sell these again instead. Yeah. And let's get over the myth that this is somehow going to inspire great punk rock that otherwise wouldn't have happened. Because like giving him credit for the fall of Soviet Union, people give Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher credit for cool punk rock in the 80s that had sharper teeth in some ways than some, but not all music has now. That's a myth. Everybody from the Sex Pistols to the Clash to the Jam to Crass to Black Flag to Dead Kennedys were fully formed in music and vision as much as 4 years before Thatcher and Reagan seized power. But meanwhile, according to Southern Poverty Law Center, the bigot attacks from the red, white, and blue, brown shirts and the hateful stuff can't give you a number because it seems to be doubling every 2 days, to the point where even Adam Yauch Park, the MCA from the Beastie Boys who died of cancer in Brooklyn Heights, somebody put a swastika in there and then wrote, "Go Trump," on November 18th. And public policy polling says, yeah, 74% of Trump voters really did want Hillary in jail. A third of them believe that Hillary Clinton has ties to Lucifer. And let's not forget, over half still may think that Obama is a Muslim agent who snuck in from Kenya. It wasn't just the FBI director Comey colluding with Putin and his hackers to tip the election, and not just social media with all the psycho tweets and sheer stupidity when people automatically believe the fake news. It's the coolest thing to send off to somebody else and be the first person to push send. Why are people so eager to believe this stuff? Where did this sheer mass stupidity come from? I think what we have to look at is 20 or 30 years of cutting the education budget in this country. Not just for reason of greed and lowering property taxes and corporate taxes. Oh, they're not my kids are grown up. Why should I pay for them? You know, people actually said that. But the next thing you know, what do you get from the other end when you keep cutting? You get stupider and stupider people. People so stupid, they'll vote for Arnold Schwarzenegger. They'll vote for Donald Trump. They'll vote for right-wing celebrities just because they saw how they acted as actors on a screen. Yeah, that'll show them. I mean, the media, corporate media, was actually biased for Trump, or they wouldn't have given him so much coverage. Star treatment from the get-go because they couldn't resist the circus and the show. What was it? Les Moonves from CBS said, well, this is bad for the country, but it's great for CBS. And by doing that and giving him the non-stop star treatment, they gave a star treatment to the racism and the ideas as well. And even the more his own people, even inside Trump Tower, are acting like the cast of 2,000 maniacs on a mass scale, they instead just call white supremacists, oh, they're the alt-right. Kind of like alt-country or alternative music. It's the hip right, it's the cutting edge, it's the alt-right. When they used to be called white supremacists and neo-Nazis. Why didn't Hillary connect with them? They were Bill's Bubba voters. Bill screwed them. NAFTA, getting rid of Glass-Steagall, you know the rest. I've never understood, considering all the damage in that area and gutting welfare that Bill Clinton did, why do corporations and these right-wing zillionaires hate the Clintons so much? They did almost everything they were asked. NAFTA, 56,000 families closed, millions of jobs exported cheaply overseas. And then there's the comments people used to make about the first George Bush, and for that matter the second one, little old Mitt Romney. Women won't vote for them because they remind women of their ex-husband. How many people, or so-called Bubba voters, did Hillary remind of their ex-wife? I mean, Chris Rock said it best in 2008. I'm all for a woman president, just not that woman. Then, there, of course, was Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who instead of a Clinton cabinet position should be raked more over the coals for the disrespect shown for Bernie Sanders, and then as soon as Hillary clinched the nomination, his voting bloc as well. You want to reach people through your ads, put Bernie in the ads. You gotta give them this, including the Trumpkins, but like Bernie voters and us Green Party people, they hardly needed focus groups to tell them what to believe. And then behind the scenes, things like an email went out from your friend and mine, Nancy Pelosi, telling people whatever you do in this campaign, don't agree to any demands from Black Lives Matter. As Chris Rock would say, what is up with that? And Tim Kaine? What was up with that? A nobody teddy bear who added nothing to the campaign, including, like the rest, why didn't they point out all of Trump's business conflicts of interest before the election instead of after the election? Instead, starting even before 2012, out came the bumper stickers of the campaign, ready for Hillary, ready for Hillary. Well, she denied having anything to do with it, but of course she had everything to do with it right when they were trying to take Congress back from the Tea Party and what we now know as the Trumpkins. Oh, don't bother even voting and worrying about getting these state houses back together in 2014. Just be ready for Hillary and forget this election and just think about 2 years from now. That sucked. When she could have gone to bat for all these people who were up against voter fraud by kicking people of color and young people off the rolls, Koch brother money. She didn't go to bat for them. No. Instead, an $18 million speaking tour behind closed doors where she expressed her support for big banks and fracking and said environmentalists should, quote, get a life. And then, let's not forget President Barack Starr's role in all this. You know, his abject and in some cases deliberate failure to bring about more than a token trickle of the change he gave some of those same people who desperately voted for Trump the audacity to hope for, and then turn around and broke everybody's hearts. It's not what he did as much as he didn't do that has caused the chickens to come home to roost and the damage we see today. He let Wall Street walk. Some of those people Trump is putting in his cabinet for commerce and treasury, they should be in prison. They should be in jail far more than Hillary should be in jail. He let his congressional majorities and all those government state houses walk. You want vote fraud? Where would all this be today if he had at least a truth commission, if not a full-blown effort to prosecute the stolen elections in 2000 and 2004? You know, even with just a truth commission, I doubt the cross-check program, which is how Trump really stole this election and so many state houses and Congress senators voted too, ever would have gotten off the ground. You know, and worst of all, no public accounting, let alone prosecutions, for the Bush regime's war crimes. Some of those same war criminals are now getting back into positions of power. So now, instead of rotting in prison where they belong, new jobs, more waterboarding, and possibly worse. I mean, and plus these Alec and Koch brothers puppets hell-bent on making it harder to vote. And then, as far as other things that went down and what wasn't just the first 100 days of Obama, but the first 600 days, say, a Democratic aide from Washington who I kind of got into it with in a party at the Conference on World Affairs in Boulder, he pointed out to me that the House, led by Pelosi, let's give her credit, passed a lot of good stuff in 2009, including some of the stuff I was calling for in that open letter to Obama. But then there was the Senate, led by that empty husk Mormon anti-choice guy named Harry Reid, who wouldn't even take up a lot of these bills in committee. Then again, Obama, who had Biden there supposedly to strong-arm the Senate, and like Lyndon Johnson was supposed to do for Kennedy, didn't do it at all. Obamacare, instead of having the bill written up in-house with maybe even asking a little more than they wanted, because that's how the sausage is made, and giving it to Congress to start amending, pass up or down, just said, okay, make me a health care bill. And the lobbyists just feasted on the entrails and stuff.